Hey, it's Theo and thank you for joining me. And today we have the best decks to climb to legend. And yes, it is not clickbait. There will be some new cards in this list, in a few of them maybe. And it might not be the best lists, but there are a couple of new cards with the mini set. And at the end of the video, I got the 3 decks that are running new cards. Just put them there because they have new cards. So they might not be the best to climb, but they look playable and they have new cards. And as you already can see, I have 2 versions of Blood, and Holy. So one has a new card in it and one doesn't. Then we have Fyrakk Rogue, one with and one without a new card. And as always, deck codes will be in the description for you to copy. Let's get started with the first deck, and it's the Aggro Hunter. Again, just a very strong aggro deck, right? Just pushes so much damage, and yeah, that's what the whole deck is built around, right? You got some early 1-drops that can push a lot of damage, and yeah, almost every other card in this deck is just built to push damage one way or another, and yeah, it just does it really well. And if you don't deal with this early, you just die very fast, so a really good deck to climb the ladder with. And the second deck we have is the Quest Warlock, like the one new deck basically we got from Ungoro, and yeah, it's just a really strong aggro deck again, because you get to complete the quest so fast. Because you have like the sketch artist, right, to get the 1-mana Solarium, and then yeah, you almost have the quest done. Usually by turn 5 the quest is done, from what I can tell, and yeah, it's just very strong when you turn 5 basically get like 8 mana worth of stats, and you can do that every single turn. Sometimes you can even copy it with Pupil, the quest for it, although I feel like you shouldn't be able to do that, but it's possible. So you get like 16 mana worth of stats every turn. And on top of that, right, tons of damage with the Horizon's Edge and Corpsicle, which, yeah, you never run out of corpses because you never run out of minions. And the third deck we have is the Blood, and Holy Death Knight we have here. And it's a bit of a different build, though. I think we saw this come up already just before the mini set. But yeah, it's still good. And yeah, it's like the Blood, and Holy Death Knight, but it's losing a lot of control tools. Instead, it has a lot more proactive tools. For example, we have the Mirrex as well, just like with Rogue, with Fyrakk. We've got the cards that work really well with Corpse Spenders, such as Reanimated Pterodex and the Stitch Giants. And this can go down pretty fast to 0 mana with those Pterodexes. And yeah, we got the weapon as well. We got one Corpse Explosion only, because it's not really control deck again. And yeah, just a lot of ways to deal damage, a lot of ways to keep up the pressure, and keep up the pressure for quite a while. So great deck if you want to play some slower deck, but not quite a control deck where you just get stuck with a lot of removals in hand. And then the version with a new card, the Egg of Chaos, like yeah, it's slightly different. Most cards are the same though, but we do have the Dissolving Ooze and the Egg. So yeah, the idea here is that yeah, the Egg gets popped by like AoE from the opponent or your Corpse Explosion, and then you have a 20/20, and then you eat it with the Ooze, and then with the Hero Power plus the 20/20 stats or whatever is remaining, you deal 21 damage with your Hero Power, and then usually with again all the other damage I mentioned, you yeah, you usually just win the game with that. And then as the fifth deck basically we have is the Rogue, and yeah, Rogue still very strong. It's like the most played deck in High Legend. And it's just very good at cheating a lot of mana, especially, again, the Mirrex into like Fyrakk or Zera, and you can do that like turn 5 already with like the Sandbox Scoundrel. And yeah, that happens pretty often, especially with the coins you get with the weapon and the O-Manager. And the deck just also has a lot of late game, right? You got Asher Main, so tons of cards you get with that, with Shaladra Sail. So much draw, you can steal cards from opponent with Nightmare Fuel, especially if the late game decks. I got my Marin stolen so often with this card, or Elise, like... It's pretty crazy. And then just Elise itself, right? Just great at, yeah, pretty much any point in the game. And if you do want to play a new card, here we got Mirrex. And yeah, I think we cut a Nightmare Fuel for that. So yeah, you copy a minion, or you copy a minion from the opponent. Just a slightly different way, but yeah, if you want to play this new card, then you can do it with this deck, and it isn't really much different compared to the standard build. Then we have the Beast Hunter, and yeah, pretty much the same as before, just a very strong aggro deck again, just a lot of 1-drops, right, to get on board, get those beasts, and then yeah, often RC Rampage is so often a 4 mana 12/12 on turn 4, and yeah, a lot of decks struggle with that. And then, yeah, you buff it with Supreme Dynamancy, or you buff your whole deck, of course, City Chief Esho, and yeah, just overwhelm the opponent with stats, and then, yeah, they just die to your minions, the weapon, Jungle Gym can do a lot of damage. Just a very strong aggro deck that's really hard to get off the board. And then we have the Mech Warrior, yeah, also nothing changed here. That's pretty much the same as before, right? We want to cheat out the minions early on if we can, want to cheat out the testing dummy with the part scrapper. So yeah, you want to get this, of course, as early as possible. Possibly, you know, with testing dummy, you can go with yQbNmAeCmQeEmQehmweKsQcAAA, you can go Boom Wrench, or you can go Cube on it to get even more of them. And the other thing you want to cheat out is the Tortola, or the Ziliax even, with the chemical spills. And then often, yeah, decks just can't kill Tortola, right? They leave it up, it's a 225, and then you play the Crazed Alchemist and hit them for 25 in the face. And yeah, usually 25 damage is enough to win the game with all the other damage you get from these testing dummies. Then here we have the Wilted Priest deck that has seen some changes, right? We've had this card nerfed, so now some decks here are running Nexus Prince Shafar. And what you can do with this, right, is that you buff that Wilted Shadow, and that's why you're also not playing Rest in Peace anymore. You really want to focus on these Wilted Shadows winning the game, because yeah, if you buff the minion to 9 attack with Nexus Prince Shafar, you only need a couple of bandages to win, right? I think you only need 4 bandages if you buff the Wilted Shadow to win the game, and yeah, that is pretty easy to come by with this deck, right? You just need Careless Crafter, then play Resuscitate, and yeah, you already have 6 bandages, so that's pretty easy. So that's the goal of this deck. So no more Rest in Peace, just Shafar the Wilted Shadow, and you can get some really quick wins with that. And then here we have Owlonius Druid, and yeah, this deck did get nerfed if I'm here to still, but yeah, I think it's still the best mulligan card in the deck. Just such a strong card. Yeah, a bit slower, but still amazing. You still want to get it as early as possible. And outside of that, the game plan is pretty simple. You just need to stay alive until you can win with Owlonius, because you don't really win in any other way unless you somehow get like tons of spell damage. The opponent doesn't have like healing or anything, and then you can kill them with the spell damage cards, but pretty unlikely. Just get to Owlonius, right, and then reset your mana with a Sleep in the Stars for 0 of the Sparking File. And yeah, try and get the 1 mana location that copies Owlonius. No deck can survive with whatever amount of armor they could get. And then we have an actual kind of new deck. It's kind of new, right? It's kind of similar to the previous Nebula Shaman. But yeah, it's only running 1 Nebula because we're running the new legendary Beast Speaker Taka. Yes, an actual new card. And the deck is actually kind of built around it, because the goal of this deck is in the late game, although most matchups you probably don't need this. But yeah, the big win con of this deck is you go Shadow Block, then you go Beast Speaker Taka, so then you get 3 times a big beast, right? And this is like a massive minion, let's say 2020. Then you eat it with the Dissolving Ooze, so you get the 2020 buff, just like with the Death Knight we had earlier in the egg. And then you play Alakir, you buff it with plus 20, let's say, right? And then you have a 23 attack Wind Fury minion, dealing 46 damage, and I'd say that that combo does win most games. And it can even be bigger, right, if your Beast Speaker Taka is bigger. And you have a few other ways to increase that damage as well. So it's kind of a new deck. It's also probably the only deck you can play a Taka in. So if you want to play this card, this is probably the deck to go with. Then we have the Elemental Mage, which is still doing alright on ladder. And it's one of the cheapest deck, if not the cheapest deck to climb with. And yeah, this deck just, well, obviously plays all the elementals, right? And then you have a ton of cards that deal damage. I mean, here is Solar Flare, 0 mana deal 2. The Windswept Page Turn can be great if you save up some 1 mana elementals that can deal a ton of damage. I mean, this is a Fireball, this is 4 damage. A Fireball, another 4 damage, right? Just this deck just deals so much damage and can win pretty fast on board with all the low-cost cards. So yeah, if you want to try out a Mage deck, this is probably the best, because yeah, Quest Mage, I think it actually got worse with the mini set, because all those masks are not the greatest cards to use randomly. Then, as usual, there is a Protoss Priest deck, and yeah, it's still just a good deck. Just very solid if you want to climb. And it just wants to spam those sentries early, right? You really want to focus on that. Don't be afraid to play Hallucination on it. You don't necessarily need to save this for the late game. It's very good if you can tempo it out early, because yeah, the earlier you get the Mothership on board, the earlier you can win with that. And often, yeah, just a single carrier of Mothership can just win games. So yeah, don't be too greedy with the Hallucination. And this deck is just actually a pretty aggressive deck, right? A lot of aggro kind of cards. A Leon, and then yeah, Resuscitate often wins the game, because that's such an annoying card to deal with. And it sets up that Mothership again. And we also have Umbra to hopefully then get some Mothership cards off it. So you have even more value and more ways to get like Templars to win the game. Then we have the fastest deck on this list. It's the Aggro Paladin deck. And yeah, this deck wins so fast. It's pretty crazy. It's mostly due to like busy bots, like Like turn 3, it can be a pretty strong board. You don't clear it, they play Crusader Aura, and yeah, the game is pretty much over. And this deck just does that really, really well. If your board is gone with this deck, yeah, the game is probably over. But yeah, it's just really good at winning with that first board you get. So that's why it's on the list, and definitely the fastest deck. And then we're getting to 3 decks that are playing some new cards. They're not amazing, but they're not the worst. They're actually playable. And the first one is the one I already made a video about. It's the Quest Warrior. And it's running 2 new cards. First of all, it's Guard Duty. So yeah, the 6 drops are really good off this. You get so many good ones, right? You have like Cairn, you have like a Testing Dummy. So many good ones that you can get of it that's really carrying this card. And the other card that's actually just a good card. From the mini set, it's the Great Dracorex. It might just be the best mini set card, honestly, because it's actually just good by itself. And it's really nice to clear those boards with it. And other than that, I already covered in my video, but yeah, just a control deck, right? You want to stay alive. You've got the hydration stations to win, which will summon thoughts like Tortilla, Zilliax, which you can cheat out with a chemical spill. And yeah, a lot of decks just don't deal with Tortilla, and you can win that way. And otherwise, yeah, you just got the quest here. That yeah, you can OTK the opponent with that time warp once you have that all set up. And also, yeah, Guard Duty, don't be afraid to summon it even if you have a hydration station. Like Ham, it just really isn't that important to get back. I've seen people say like, yeah, oh, you need to get Ham back. No, you don't. Ham is mostly there for the Druid cards. It can be nice, but often it just eats a useless minion. So don't be afraid to play Guard Duty, get a 6-drop. It's fine to get that random 6-drop back. They're really, really good. And another deck with new cards is the Protoss Paladin. Yeah, you might be very familiar with this deck, but the stats aren't actually amazing anymore. The nerfs did hit it, and I guess the meta, like all those aggro decks that I mentioned early on, they really beat this deck up. But yeah, we got the Firegill. It's a new card. It doesn't really change how the deck plays, right? You still just want to jam a lot of Warlocks, and then you have a little bit more comeback potential with it. But yeah, just a solid addition to the card. Not amazing, but yeah, if you want to play a new card, I guess you could play this deck. And the last deck I have for you today is the Shaman deck, and it's actually playing 2 new cards, believe it or not. These decks do exist. And yeah, we have the Chillspine Stegodon here and the Fire Breath, so that's 2 whole new cards. And the deck is pretty similar to other elemental decks, right? You want to get on board with those elementals and then use that synergy, such as the Slackclaw is great, right? Especially if you can Shadow Block it. That is a lot of damage you can get with this, as well with the Sizzling Swarm, and then especially if you can combine it with the Broma, which makes all your elementals deal 1 more damage. That means that it is Sizzling Sentence, right? This card deals actually twice 2 damage per card, so that can really add up pretty fast with this deck. And you got the burn rate with the Fire Breath, which can also buff your board, so like be more burn even if you already have a board. So yeah, that's kind of how this deck wins. Didn't have the highest sample size, but it looked sort of playable, so that's why I'm including it here if you want to play with some of these new cards. So those are all the decks I've got for you today. Yeah, an amazing amount of new decks of the mini set, so huge success at the mini set. It's been truly a game changer. Anyway, let me know in the comments, have you been playing some new cards? Have you tried new decks? Have you found anything? Because yeah, I really tried my best to find decks with new cards, but it was pretty difficult to find some that looked playable. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and until next time.